for a new tower on the Black Sea. And the idea of it was that it was going to be one of many Trump towers in the former Soviet Union. Along with Ivanka and Don Jr., this was a big part of Cohen's job to set up deals like this. But it turns out that the financial partners were under investigation for bank fraud. There were other allegations of criminal behavior. The New Yorker called this Trump's most corrupt deal. The project was never built. And that is a pattern that we saw while we were investigating Cohen for this Trump Inc. podcast, which is that he frequently became involved in people who were charged or investigated for crimes, though he himself was never investigated that we know of until the current federal investigation.
So Cohen wants to talk about a new project overseas, but reporters want to ask whether or not Trump is going to run for president. And what did he say?
So Trump at this event, he's coy. He says, I'm ahead in the polls. The response has been amazing. But there was also a harbinger of some early signs of trouble for Trump and Cohen, because Cohen was maintaining that should Trump run was independent of Trump. Trump didn't file papers with the Federal Elections Commission, and there was a complaint filed because it appeared that Trump was financing the whole thing. But the FEC cleared him, and one of the commissioners signing off was Don McGahn, now the White House counsel.
So FEC investigations, isn't that one of the things that Cohen is now under investigation for in connection with Stormy Daniels?
Yes. It appears that federal investigators are looking at whether Cohen's payment that he says was independent was some kind of in-kind campaign contribution. We're talking about his payment to Stormy Daniels. Both Trump and Cohen say Trump didn't know about it. What's really interesting, Trump first came to most people's attention when he was named in that Russia dossier. This is that collection of memos compiled by the former British spy that alleged Trump campaign collusion with the Russians. That dossier said during the campaign that Cohen was, quote, sweeping it all under the carpet, referring at that time to charges of collusion. So Cohen has denied that he was in any way involved in collusion or sweeping anything under the carpet involving the Russians. But when it comes to Stormy Daniels, he says, yeah, he did make this payoff, and that it was all him, not Trump, and that he did it to help a friend to keep the allegations about this affair quiet.
And you can hear much more about Michael Cohen in this week's episode of Trump Inc., a podcast produced by WNYC and ProPublica. Andrea Bernstein is one of the co-hosts. Andrea, thank you.
Thank you so much. Always great to talk to you.
Hi, this is Chris Thiele. Live from here, we'll be at the Town Hall on April 21st with our guests Sufjan Stevens and poet Tracy K. Smith. Tickets are at wnyc.org/events.
Support for WNYC comes from Doyle Auctioneers and Appraisers. Redecorating or relocating? Doyle specialists are available to provide auction estimates for jewelry, art, furniture, and silver throughout April. More information at doyle.com.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Elsa Chang. This Friday is 420, as in April 20th.
Also as in 420, like marijuana. The police in Lawrence, Kansas have been tweeting some tips.
If it's 4:45 on 420 and you get pulled over and you've got orange or red Cheeto dust on your fingertips, that's what we call evidence.
Okay, that is a joke if it is not clear. Officer Drew Fennelly runs the department's official Twitter account. Here's one of his other tweets from yesterday.
This post does not condone smoking Mary Jane, but my boss says I have to clarify that as a police department, we do not condone smoking reefer. Again, driving high is still DUI, and that ain't no joke.
His tweets get thousands of likes.
Officer Fennelly began the account in 2015. Back then, he had to get approval for almost everything he posted.
Initially, our tweets were bad, and so we didn't have much of a following in the beginning.
Then, in March of 2016, he tweeted this about the University of Kansas's loss to Villanova.
Sorry, we can't investigate Villanova ripping your heart out of your chest. The crime occurred outside our jurisdiction.
It was the first tweet that we went with humor to try to get better engagement, and it ended up getting a couple thousand likes, over 1,000 retweets.
We started scrolling through the feed, and before we knew it, our staff was reciting the officer's tweets from this past Valentine's Day.
Cops are not poets, so is this poem a haiku? Absolutely not. Don't break the law, criminals.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Thou wanderest into a store and pays for thou stuff before leaving.
Officer Drew Fennelly says he and his colleagues know that people in Lawrence are reading the posts.
People on the street, when they come up to officers, they want to talk about the Twitter account. And I feel like their familiarity with what we're putting out on Twitter makes them feel like they can go up to an officer and say, hey, just want to say, love your Twitter account. For officers to be able to have that interaction, I think that's the best thing that we can hope for.
He says it's part of the department's community policing efforts.
The Lawrence Police Twitter account now has more than 100,000 followers. By some counts, more than the population of the city itself.
Inmates and staff at Folsom Prison are going to hear a legendary act tonight. It's the second night that Los Tigres del Norte is playing at Folsom.